Hello, my name is Leah Sugarman. Welcome to your down dog flow. You don't need any props for this practice. They're not essential, but if you have props that you love to use in your practice, especially for downward facing dog, then grab those now and start in a comfortable seated position. So just ground down into your sitting bones. You're welcome to sit on props if you'd like. And lift up tall through your back body. Take a moment to either soften your gaze or close your eyes. Just take a second to tune in with your breath and observe its natural rhythm. Set a gentle pace to your breath and strive to keep that pace consistent as you move throughout your practice today. When you feel really connected to your breath, you can refocus your gaze or flit open your eyes and cross your ankles to roll forward onto all fours. So find a neutral tabletop position. Align your shoulders roughly over your wrists and your hips roughly over your knees, and spread your fingers wide and evenly spaced between them. Ground down evenly into the perimeter of your palms and gently grip at the mat with your fingertips. As you inhale, soften and relax the weight of your belly toward the floor. Draw your shoulder blades together, peel open your chest, option to look up. And exhale, ground down firmly against your palms. Round into your whole back body. Draw your shoulder blades apart from each other and gaze toward your navel. Inhale, relax your belly toward the floor. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. Expand your heart forward between your arms. Exhale, round and curl in on yourself. And just continue to flow. Follow your own rhythm of breath. Move between cat and cow pose. And strive to really articulate each joint in your back body as you move. Slowly start to warm up through your whole spine. Take one more breath in each direction. And then on your next inhale, find your way back into a neutral tabletop. Reach the crown of your head forward, lengthen your tailbone back behind you. And then turn your fingers to point toward the outer edges of your mat. So turn your right fingers to the right and your left fingers to the left. And gently lean the weight of your whole body over toward the right. Keep your palms grounded. And then slowly lean the weight of your whole body toward the left. Inhale to come to center. Exhale, lean to the right. Inhale, come to center. Exhale, lean to the left. And just continue to flow. Follow your own breath. Keep that steady, consistent pace that you set earlier. And you're welcome to continue just like this, or option to turn your fingers to point back roughly toward your knees or somewhere in between where they were and toward your knees. And then inhale, lean your weight forward, and exhale, lean your weight back. Keep the heels of your hands grounded the whole time, wherever you choose to be. Again, keep your breath slow and consistent. Keep that steady rhythm going the whole time. Wherever you are, take another full breath. And then on your next inhale, point your fingers back toward the top of your mat. And align your shoulders back over your wrists. Keep your hips aligned over your knees and slowly walk your hands forward in front of you. And keep walking your hands forward as far as you comfortably can as you relax the weight of your upper body down toward the floor. You're welcome to release your chin or your forehead toward the mat. Gently hug your shoulder blades toward each other and soften the space around your heart as you broaden and open your chest and relax your shoulders. Come back to your breath. Reestablish your steady rhythm if you need to. And then on your next inhale, root firmly against your palms to lift the weight of your torso. Walk your hands back until they align back underneath your shoulders, and then walk them forward once again about 1 palm's distance. So they're just slightly forward of your shoulders. Spread your fingers wide, root into all 4 corners of your palms, gently grip at the mat with your fingertips, and then tuck all 10 toes underneath. Hug in 3-dimensionally around your belly. Root firmly against your palms to lift up out of your shoulders, and then lift your knees off the floor and send your sit bones high into downward facing dog. So you're welcome to readjust the stance between your hands and your feet as you'd like. Option to bend your knees here as much as you'd like to. Root firmly against your palms. Again, lift up out of your shoulders. And then ever so slightly tip your pelvis forward as if you're trying to spill the contents of your pelvic bowl down onto the mat, so that you can then lengthen your sitting bones toward the ceiling and create even more space in your back body. Relax the weight of your heels toward the floor. They never need to reach, but just allow their weight to become heavy and melt down toward the mat. Ever so slightly spiral your thigh bones toward each other and draw the weight of your thighs toward the back of your mat. Inhale, bend your right knee deeply and stretch and straighten your left leg as much as you comfortably can. Then bend deeply into your left knee, stretch and straighten your right leg as much as you comfortably can. Continue to pedal out your feet, bend one knee at a time. You can move slowly. If you want to, you could pick up the pace. So just gently start to awaken the backs of your legs. Take one more breath on each side. And then when you're ready, come back to your neutral downward facing dog. Walk your feet forward about 1 step, so one of your own foot's distance. So you have this shortened down dog stance. And root firmly into your left hand so you can rise up onto your right fingertips. Keep your weight pouring into your left hand so that you can lift your right hand off the floor and draw your right hand to either catch a hold of your left thigh, your left shin, or your left ankle. Elongate your spine, stretch your sitting bones up toward the sky, and then from that length, spiral and twist your whole torso toward the left. Maybe gaze under your left armpit. Keep rooting firmly against your left hand and lifting up out of your sitting bones. Inhale deeply. Exhale, slowly unwind your twist. Ground your right hand back down to the floor. Shift your weight into your right hand to rise to your left fingertips. And root firmly into your right hand until you feel stable enough to lift your left hand off the mat and catch a hold either of your right thigh, your shin, or your ankle. Root down against your right hand, lift your sitting bones up, and then from that length, spiral and spin your whole torso toward the right. Maybe gaze under your right armpit. Keep this stability in your right arm as you lift and lengthen your back body. Inhale deeply. Exhale, slowly unwind your twist. Release your left hand back down to the floor. Walk your feet back to their original position so that you stabilize in your neutral down dog, whatever that looks like for you. Focus on grounding into your hands and lifting your sit bones high. Again, option to bend your knees as much as you'd like to. On an inhale, roll your weight forward into a plank position. Align your shoulders over your wrists. As you exhale, bend your knees, let them hover just above the floor. Tip your pelvis forward and then send your sitting bones high so you can stretch up and back into downward dog. Inhale, roll your weight forward, stack your shoulders over your wrists. Exhale, bend your knees, hover above the floor. Tip your pelvis forward and then reach your sitting bones high, back up into downward facing dog. Do this one more time like a wave. Inhale, roll your weight forward. Stack your shoulders over your wrists. Exhale, bend your knees, hover above the mat. Tip your pelvis forward, and then lift your sitting bones high. Elongate your spine into downward facing dog. Inhale, rise up high onto the balls of your feet and place a deep bend into your knees. Ground down evenly into both hands, and then roll to the pinky side of your left foot and the big toe side of your right foot. Keep your knees bent deeply, equalize your weight in your hands, and send your sit bones high. Keep rounding down into your right hand so that you lengthen through your whole right side body. Inhale, come back to center. Stay high on your tippy toes, bend your knees deeply. Roll to the pinky side of your left foot and the big toe side of your right foot. Keep your knees bent, root evenly into both hands. Ground down into your left hand as you reach your sitting bones high with your hips tilted toward the right. Lengthen your whole left side body. Inhale, come back to center. Restore your neutral downward facing dog. And sweep and extend your right leg up toward the sky. Inwardly spiral your thigh bone. Point your toes directly toward the mat. Root firmly against both hands. Equalize your weight. Hug in around your belly. And use the strength of your core to lift your leg a millimeter higher. Inhale deeply here. And as you exhale, draw your knee in toward your nose. Round your back body as you shift your weight forward toward plank. Option to lower your left knee to the floor. Inhale, sweep your right leg back up toward the sky. Exhale, draw your knee in toward your nose. Round your back body. Shift your weight forward to align shoulders over wrists. Inhale, reach your right leg high. Exhale, draw your knee in toward your nose. Round your spine, look forward, and step your foot directly between your hands. Pivot on your back foot and release your heel to the floor. Point your toes roughly toward the long edge of your mat. Now walk your hands over toward the big toe side of your front foot. So walk your hands toward the left and keep walking toward the left as you ground your hands in between your feet, forward of them, roughly shoulder width apart. Now spread your fingers wide, ground evenly into your palms, root firmly against your hands, and lift up out of your shoulders. Send your sitting bones toward the sky behind you as you lengthen your back body and relax your neck. So create a down dog shape in your upper body through your arms, your shoulders, and your spine. In this warrior two shape in your lower body, bend your front knee deeply, ground into the pinky side of your left foot. Stabilize your breath here. Keep the activation through your arms and the length in your spine. Inhale deeply. As you exhale, continue to walk your hands toward the back of your mat. Pivot on your feet so that you can plant your palms to frame out your front foot. Ground down against your palms and send your left leg straight up and back into a three-legged dog. Elongate through your whole back body. Inwardly spiral your thigh bone, point your toes directly to the mat, draw in on your belly, and then slowly begin to walk your hands toward the back of your mat, or the top of your mat, but now it's the back. So your hands walk back toward your right leg. Option to bend your right knee as much as you'd like as you kick your left leg straight up toward the sky and soften the weight of your upper body forward and down into a standing split. Inhale deeply. As you exhale, walk your hands back out, forward toward the back of your mat or the top of your mat, whatever you want to call it now, into a three-legged downward facing dog. Evenly distribute your weight into both hands as you bend your left knee deeply and open your hip. Reach your left knee straight up toward the sky. Draw your left heel toward your right sitting bone. Option to stay here, or option to release the ball of your left foot behind your right knee. Pivot on your right foot, ground down against your right foot and your right hand to lift your hips up toward the sky and stretch your left arm up overhead. Peel open your heart into flip dog or wild thing. Inhale deeply, ground down against the floor to lift your hips even higher. Exhale, slowly unwind. Release your left hand back down to the floor. Send your left leg back up high into a three-legged dog. Root firmly against your palms, lift up out of your shoulders, tip your pelvis forward, reach your sitting bones high. Square your hips to the floor. Once again, point your left toes to the mat and use the strength of your core to lift your leg just a centimeter or a millimeter higher. Inhale deeply here. And as you exhale, draw your left knee in toward your nose, round your back body as you roll your weight forward and align your shoulders over your wrists. Option to lower your right knee down. Inhale, sweep your left leg straight up and back behind you. Exhale, draw your knee toward your nose, round your spine, roll your weight forward. Inhale, sweep your left leg high. Exhale, draw your knee toward your nose, align your shoulders over your wrists, look forward, and step your left foot directly between your hands. Spin on your back foot, point your toes toward the long edge of your mat, release your heel to the floor, bend your front knee deeply, and walk your hands toward the right side of your mat. Keep walking until your hands are about roughly halfway between your feet. Spread your palms shoulder width apart. Root down firmly into your hands. Spread your fingers, ground your palms, and then root firmly against your hands to lift up out of your shoulders and lengthen your spine as you relax your head. Bend your front knee deeply. Ground down firmly into the pinky side of your back foot. All the while, lengthen your spine as you lengthen your breath. Create this down dog shape in your upper body and a warrior two shape in your lower body. Inhale deeply. Exhale, slowly start to walk your hands back toward the top of your mat. Pivot on your feet. Plant your palms to frame out your front foot and step up and back into a three-legged dog. Sweep your right leg straight up toward the sky. Square your hips to the floor, point your toes directly to the mat, root evenly into both of your hands, hug your belly in, and then slowly begin to walk your hands toward the back of your mat. Option to bend your left knee as you fold the weight of your upper body forward and down and kick your right leg high to the sky in standing splits. Inhale deeply. Exhale, slowly start to walk your hands back forward toward the top of your mat into a three-legged downward facing dog. From here, bend your right knee deeply and open your hip. Reach your right knee straight up toward the sky. Draw your right heel toward your left sitting bone. Evenly distribute your weight into both hands, or stay as you are, or release the ball of your left foot behind your right knee, spin on your right foot, ground down into your right foot and your left foot, and your left hand, root down against the mat to lift your hips up high and spin open through your chest as you reach your right arm to the sky in flip dog or wild thing. Ground down to lift up. Stabilize your breath. Take a deep inhale. And as you exhale, slowly unwind. Release your right hand back down to the floor. Reach your right leg back up to the sky. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, slowly release your right foot down to the floor. Restore a neutral downward facing dog. Ground down evenly into your hands. Lift up out of your shoulders. Tip your pelvis forward so your sitting bones can stretch up toward the sky, and you can elongate your whole spine. Tap back into your breath. Reestablish its rhythm if it's changed at all. Now on your next inhale, look forward between your hands and bend your elbows straight back behind you. Let them hover just above the floor. Externally rotate your upper arms. So roll the center crease of your elbows or the eye of your elbows forward and up toward the sky so that you roll on your upper arm bones toward the outer edges of your mat. Now keep this much activation. Keep your elbows bent and relax the weight of your head and neck toward the floor. Look back toward your thighs. Energetically squeeze your arms toward the midline of your mat. Imagine that you're squeezing a beach ball in your upper arms. And feel all of the strength in your upper body as you tip your pelvis forward, send your sit bones high, and lengthen your back body. Find your breath in this turbo down dog. Inhale deeply. And as you exhale, relax your right elbow toward the floor, stretch and straighten through your left arm. Find a funky down dog as you ground down into your right forearm and into your left hand. Tip your pelvis and lengthen your spine. Try and elongate both sides of your waistline evenly. Inhale, lift your right elbow and then bend deeply into your left elbow. Release your left forearm to the floor. Ground down into your left forearm and your right hand. Lift out of your shoulders. Tip the contents of your pelvic bowl forward and down so that your tailbone reaches up and your sitting bones stretch up toward the ceiling. And try and equalize the length in both sides of your body. You might be up on the ball of one foot, that's totally fine. Maybe the other foot becomes a little bit heavier. Now inhale deeply here. And as you exhale, release your right forearm down to the floor with your left. You may wish to slide your elbows slightly closer toward each other. You can have your forearms parallel. You may wish to bring your hands into a prayer shape and relax the weight of your upper body forward and down, but don't let your head touch the floor. Root firmly into your forearms, lift up out of your shoulders, an option to stay here, or option to tiptoe your feet in a little bit closer towards your arms. You always have the option to bend your knees a little or a lot here. As you elongate your back body and move your chest back towards your thighs. Option to stay as you are. Option to inhale, reach your right leg straight up toward the sky, square your hips to the floor. If your right leg is lifted, slowly release it back down. Option to reach your left leg up and square your hips down. If your left leg is lifted, slowly release it back down. If you walked your feet in, walk them back behind you. Ground down into your palms and lift one elbow at a time or both simultaneously back into downward facing dog. Create length through your whole back body. Tap in with your breath. Notice if it changes at all as you start to tire. And then from here, soften your knees to the floor. Align your hips over your knees. And just like you did earlier, walk your hands forward in front of you as far as you comfortably can and melt the weight of your upper body down toward the floor. Release your chin or your forehead to the mat. Soften the space around your heart and relax your shoulders. Inhale to slowly root down into your palms. Walk your hands back to align underneath your shoulders. Create length in your back. Walk your hands forward about one palm's distance once again. Spread your fingers wide. And this time, rise up onto your fingertips. So imagine that there's something really precious underneath your hands, like a cupcake. And you don't want to have your hands collapse down onto that cupcake. So energetically slide your fingers toward each other, hug into the center of your palms, and lift the center of your palms up toward the sky. Root down into your fingers, lift the weight of your shoulders up away from the floor. And you have the option to stay here or tuck your toes underneath. Three-dimensionally corset in around your waistline. Imagine tightening a corset around your whole center. And then ground down firmly into your fingertips to lift your knees off the floor and send your sit bones high into a down dog shape on your fingertips. Tip your pelvis forward, lift your sitting bones, lift up out of your spine so you can really elongate your whole back body. As always, you have the option to bend your knees. Stabilize your breath. Inhale deeply. And exhale, soften your knees back down to the floor if you lifted them. Relax your palms down to the floor, untuck your toes, release your seat back onto your heels, and soften the weight of your upper body forward and down. Release your forehead toward the floor. And you're welcome to have your arms reaching forward. If it feels nicer to soften deeper into your shoulders, you could stretch your arms back behind you. You're welcome to have your knees together or apart. Just find a down dog shape, a child's pose shape now that you enjoy. And allow your body to soften into the shape. Reestablish your steady breath. And then on your next inhale, slowly round up through your spine to rise up to sit. And just release your hips over to one side so that you can stretch your legs forward in front of you. Bend your knees and plant your feet onto the floor, roughly hip distance apart. And then take your hands back behind your hips. You can point your fingers toward the back of your mat, the side of your mat, or toward your feet. Find what feels best for you. And then roll your shoulders down your back. Hug your shoulder blades toward each other so that you can broaden and expand your whole chest. Keep this much opening through your heart center as you root evenly into your hands and your feet and lift your hips up off the floor. Expand and open through your chest as you stabilize your breath. You have the option to keep your chin tucked. If it feels good for your neck, you could look up or even relax your head back. So find the position that you like best. Root firmly against your feet and your hands. Lift your hips a little bit higher. Hug your shoulder blades together and broaden and expand your whole heart center, your chest, all those muscles that you worked really hard. Inhale deeply. Exhale, softly release your seat to the floor. And stretch your legs forward in front of you. Cross your right leg over your left. You have the option to stay here or bend deeply into your right knee and draw your right heel towards your outer left hip. And then stack your knees on top of each other. If you elevate your hips so you could sit onto anything that you like, this will help to make this more accessible. You're welcome to stay like this, or you could also bend into your left knee and draw your left heel towards your outer right hip as well. So find a comfortable position in the legs that you like. Don't worry too much about the legs right now. Focus on your arms. So as you inhale, lift and lengthen your spine. And then stretch your right arm up to the sky and bend your elbow to walk your hand down your back. Use your left hand to catch a hold of your right elbow. And draw your arm toward the midline of your body. Gently press the weight of your head back against your arm. Now you're more than welcome to stay like this, or you could reach your left arm back behind you, turn your palm to face the back of your mat, and then bend your elbow to slide your hand up your back. You could hold on to your shirt or your fingertips. And if you take that arm behind you, be sure to keep your spine elongated. So press your head against your upper arm and press your ribs against your lower arm. Inhale deeply. And as you exhale, gently release your arms. Take them back behind you and stretch your legs back forward in front of you. This time, cross your left leg over your right. Option to stay like this, or bend your left knee deeply. Draw your heel toward your outer right hip. Again, you could elevate your hips. You could place props between your knees. Option to stay here, or option to bend your right knee and draw your right heel towards your outer left hip. Don't worry too much about the legs, just find a comfortable position. And then ground down firmly into your seat, lift up tall through your back, and stretch your left arm to the sky. Bend your left elbow, walk your hand down your back. Use your right hand to catch your elbow, hug it in towards your midline, and press the weight of your head back against it. And again, you have the option to stay like this. You may wish to reach your right arm back behind you, point your palm to face the back of your mat, bend your elbow and walk your hand up your back, and you can hold on to your shirt or option to interlace your fingers. Be sure to keep your spine elongated, so press your head against your upper arm, and if your right arm is behind you, then press your lower ribs against that arm. As you elongate your spine, focus on elongating your breath. And breathe into any release through the arms or the shoulders that you might be experiencing. Inhale deeply. Exhale slowly, release your arms, take them back behind you, stretch your legs forward in front of you, and find your way onto your back. Relax your legs about as wide as your mat. Let your heels turn in and your toes just flop out. Let them become really heavy. And then soften your arms by your sides. Turn your palms to face up toward the sky. Let the weight of your shoulders really melt down toward the floor. Let your upper arms become heavy. Relax all this musculature that you worked really hard today. And then option to either just relax your gaze or close your eyes. Release control over your breath. And as you allow your body to soften, allow your mind to do the same. Feel free to stay relaxing here in this final resting pose, Savasana, for as long as you would like. Thank you for sharing your practice. I'll see you next time.